Hello and welcome to HealthyHouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today I'm going to be talking about winter garden chores for your houseplants, part of my seasonal care series on them, and we have already done for the last season was fall, so now we're moving into winter time. So though your houseplants are indoors in your home, they are still affected by seasons as well as temperatures, and I do have other videos on that too, which I will put links to below so you can see about that. So in the winter months, your houseplants, like this lovely tenanth here, they will slow down growth. So that is why you will be changing some of the things you're doing from fall to winter, and then for the rest of the year as well. So I'm going to talk about the top things to keep in mind right now during the winter time in your indoor garden. So firstly, very important, this is where a lot of things are two main areas where a lot of things go badly for your houseplants in the wintertime. And the first one is lighting. Remembering that, for instance, today is the shortest day of the year. That means that there is a lot less light than there is 6 months from now at the longest day of the year. So your plants are getting a lot less light. If you have high light lovers or even medium light lovers like this tenanth is here, you are going to want to most likely go ahead and supplement with some additional lighting. So there are some really good products on the market, grow lights. Just make sure when you get a grow light that it is a full spectrum lighting light bulb or system. Full spectrum is very important because full spectrum simulates daylight. So you definitely want to make sure you're getting full spectrum. You can get full spectrum lights to go in just about any light fixture, so they can go in lamps and then they make the track for track lighting. So lots of options here. I like this, the clip-on lights. This is one of the clip-on lights because you can put this light bulb anywhere and clip it onto somewhere nearby and give some extra lighting to your plants at any time of the year, but especially now during the shorter days of the year. Really important. Just keep in mind that light deprived plants will take a while to show you that they are light deprived, because what plants do is they will live off their light stores for a while and they'll look okay for you. So what'll generally happen is at the beginning of winter, you think, oh, it looks okay. I mean, the plant, I know it's shorter days and it's not getting as much light as it was during the summer and the spring and even the fall, but it's looking okay. Well, what happens is it will use up all its light stores. So maybe at the beginning of winter, it's looking okay. By the end of the winter, it has started dropping a lot of leaves, because what the plants will do when they don't have enough light is they will, for survival purposes, start getting rid of parts of themselves. They will start with any flowers, any fruit that they have, and then they will start to drop their lower leaves, because the higher leaves are the ones, generally speaking, when they're grown outdoors, are the ones closest to the sun. So that's the reason why they will drop the lower leaves. So if you've had this happen to a plant over the winter months, where it starts dropping off its lower leaves and then it looks like this on a bare stem, and then the top part of the plant, that's what happened. It was a lack of light. So in order to avoid that, get those full spectrum light bulbs lighting on your plants as quickly as possible, and to avoid that so they can continue to have enough light. Now, they may be running on less light than they are going to be the rest of the year, but by giving them this supplemental light, you're going to get them through without a lot of leaf loss and still looking really healthy. I do use the Aero Garden systems And the cool thing about them is, so I will do a lot of seeding in them and growing herbs and that sort of thing throughout the year. And they have such a great lighting system, a full spectrum lighting system. It's just also an LED lighting system, that they will also give a lot of light to surrounding plants for you. So that's another little tip, that you can put your plants near your air garden for some extra lighting, because that's really going to help them considerably. Now, also keeping in mind, so you may be thinking, well, I've got this really bright window. Maybe it's, and maybe you're in an area where you do get a lot of bright light, at least for during those short days. Keep in mind, however, that if the plant is a tropical, Tenanthe is, and many of the plants you're growing indoors are, if you put it too close to that window, because you're thinking, well, I got to get it really close to the window to get a lot of light, that it's very cold at the window. So you can, that temperature, that lower temperature can also affect your plants. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're trying to get them that lighting they need. Hence, it's maybe better, especially if you live in a really cold climate, to pull them away from the window some. The leaves can even get frostbite by being on the side of the window during at night. So pull them away a little bit and give them that full spectrum lighting. Okay, I also mentioned watering. Oh, they didn't mention watering, but watering, didn't mention it yet, but watering is the other thing that will go awry during the winter months, and that's when you may lose the plant, or you may lose the plant at the end of winter after you thought, okay, I got through, and then it goes downhill. So, as mentioned, plants slow down growth considerably during the winter months. So, that being said, they're going to slow down drinking, right? They're not going to be taking up as much of the water as they were especially during the spring months when they're growing actively, during the summer when they're still growing actively and it's getting warm out, and even during the fall. So you want to pull back on watering for sure. Definitely use your moisture meter when you are checking your plants for watering in the winter time. And most of the plants, even tropicals, there are some exceptions. Maidenhair fern is one of them. You don't want to dry that one out ever. But most of them, you want to go on you want to be around, what you want to be is around the 4, close to the 3 even when you water the plant. Do keep the plant in mind. There are some that like to be dry on the drier side. There's some that like to be on the moisture side. So you do want to keep that in mind. But as a general rule of thumb, around the 4 and close to the 3 before you water. Because what happens is it is colder during the winter time. And then if you have the plant in really soggy soil and it's not taking up the water fast enough because it's not growing as fast, you're going to end up with root rot. I do have a whole series on root rot playlist. I will put the link below. So hopefully you could save plants if this has occurred. So do not overwater in the winter months. If you're going to air for anything in the winter months, air towards the side of not as much water rather than too much water. I mentioned maidenhair fern. That is one that you don't want to do that to, but most of the plants you do want to go to the cautious side of less water. I do have a video, two videos on using the moisture meter that will help as well. Okay, so also when watering, especially during the winter months, and I do have a whole video on this, is you want to use, and this is all times of the year, but it's especially important during the winter months, you want to use warm to tepid water always. Because think about this, especially if you're in a really cold climate and your water is coming up out of the tap at 30 or 40 degrees, or even some climates even less than that, and you have your plants at maybe 60-ish degrees, there's a huge temperature variation there. What happens when plants, and they've done studies on this, when plants get too cold of water at their root zone, it will cause root dieback, which then can cause root rot eventually. It will also cause spotting on the leaves, and it will cause shock even in the plant. I mean, you would be shocked, right, if you got out of if you're in your 65 degree, 70 degree home and someone threw you into a thing of water that was 20 or 30 degrees, it would shock you too. So that's something to keep in mind, is the water temperature as well. Warm water is really good. Now you don't want hot, but you want warm, tepid, room temperature it would be the coolest you would want to go. Okay, so another thing that occurs during the winter months that you want to check on, and that is humidity, because plants will dry out, especially if you have a heating system. Even if you have a fireplace heating system, they will dry out because the air just gets drier as it is being heated so that we can be kept warm, right? So I really recommend using a hygrometer. I love this tool. It is shows you the temperature in the room, and it shows you the humidity in the room. Now, as mentioned, I am in Southern California, so it is right now in here 68.2 Fahrenheit, 50% humidity, which 50% is not bad. Houseplants generally like to be somewhere between 45 and 65% humidity, and they can go higher on humidity. They don't do real well with lower on humidity unless there's something like a succulent, which doesn't like the humidity, but overall that range is something you want to aim for. So a hygrometer, great tool to show you right away what's the humidity like and what's the it's the relative humidity, and it's in relation to the temperature, so you get both there. So that will show you, and these are fairly inexpensive too, which makes them really nice, and that will show you very quickly what you're looking at in terms of humidity and temperature, so you can make sure that the plant, when you know a plant requires certain temperature, you can get it into the right area of the home, and then it'll show you humidity. So maybe you move a plant into an area which is warmer because it's near a heater or a heating system, but then you find out, geez, the humidity just plummeted to 20%, then and this plant likes humidity, then you know where you can, it helps you move the plant around until you find the perfect spot, because you very well may, in order to keep your plants happy and healthy in the winter months, you may have to move them around. You actually may have to move them around throughout the year. So this is a really nice tool for that. Now, say you find out, oh geez, I really have low humidity. I didn't realize my humidity was this low, like 30–40%. You want to raise it, especially for a lot of houseplants. There's several things you can do. I do have videos on raising humidity and on making a humidity tray. Here is a humidity tray, so you see that. And what you do with the humidity tray is you can put pebbles, marbles, anything, gravel, anything that's going to keep the plant elevated above water. So what you do is you put water into just below the bottom of the in this case marbles and decorative marbles, and when you put the plant on top, what happens is the water in there will evaporate and it will humidify the air around the plant. So that's a really handy thing to do, is make a humidity tray. You can also mist the plant. So misting will help. You want it to be a nice, and sort of like that, very misty mist. You don't want something that's spraying out a ton of water, because in that case you are bathing the plant, you are not misting the plant. Misting has some, there's a lot of, people have a lot to say about misting. I do have a video on the truth about misting, because it is of limited value, but it does do a lot of other really good things for you. I will put the link for that as well. But the misting and the humidity tray, those really help get humidity up. Even if you only have 5 percentage points of humidity raised, you're going to help your plants in the winter months. So putting these different things together will really help. And another thing that really helps is having a lot of plants, because plants transpire. We perspire. Plants transpire. When they transpire, they release moisture into the air. And when they release moisture into the air, they humidify each other. So they're all hanging out together, humidifying each other. So that's why areas like the jungles and forests, the air is just moisture and more pleasant in those, because there's so many plants transpiring. So if you feel the urge to go get more plants this winter, it's really good for the humidity of everyone, including you, because when the plants are creating that humidity, they're also humidifying your air as well and cleaning it. I have a video on how houseplants clean the air for you as well. Okay, so humidity, and that will help prevent things like brown leaf tips. I have video on that too, so adequate humidity will help with that as well. All right, another thing you want to keep in mind during the winter months is checking for pests and treating if necessary, okay? One pest that loves to come on board in the winter months is the spider mite. And these are little teeny weeny spider mites. They're little teeny weeny. You can know if you have problems with them because they will create some webbing, so spider webbing on your plants. And then if you shake the leaves over a white piece of paper, you may see things scurrying, little teeny things scurrying around. Those probably are spider mites. Little buggers will make a mess and they will actually eat the plant leaves. They like other pests, they will suck on the plant foliage and eat it and create a big mess, and they can kill a plant. So however, the reason they are common in the winter months is they love dry conditions. So they thrive in dry conditions. So a really easy way to keep that under control is to make sure to humidify your plant regularly and give your plant, it's okay to give your plant baths. Rinse them off in a sink if they're smaller. If they're bigger, rinse them off in the shower. Remembering to use warm water, as mentioned, really important because that water will get into the soil as well as you do this. But that will keep the spider mites at bay, will keep a lot of pests at bay, and will also humidify your plants and make them feel good. Do it earlier in the day. Don't do it at the end of the day where they may be still moist when nightfall comes. So do it in the morning. Shake them off in the shower, shake them off in the sink. Dry them a little bit with paper towels or something lightweight so you don't harm the foliage. Let them sit for a little while to dry, then put them back in their location, and they will be very happy for you to do that. Other pests you may see, the mealybugs love to go to town in the winter too. So keep an eye out for that. I have videos on them, little white annoying pests that you can treat with isopropyl alcohol, neem oil, also horticultural oils, cleaning them, and that sort of thing, cleaning the plants, and that will help keep that at bay as well. Now, you probably noticed I have not mentioned fertilizing at this point because most houseplants, it's best to just pull back on fertilizing during the winter months. So generally, part of the winter months, I should say. So generally from a little bit earlier than now, usually end of October, early November is when you want to stop fertilizing, and you don't want to resume fertilizing your houseplants until late February, early March. So you can take a break on your fertilizing during this time and do some of these other things that we mentioned. Do check your plants when you're watering them. Check for foliage that has died back because pests love the dying back foliage to harbor there. So make sure to clean them up, pull that out when you see it. Another thing to keep in mind is to turn your plants during this time of year. So especially if they're in front of a window, because they will start to etoliate, they will start to lean towards the light. And you could, by the end of winter, have a plant that's totally leaning if you don't turn it. So about once a week, turn the plant a little bit, like an eighth or a quarter of the diameter of the pot, so that it will continue to grow up straight and tall. Or if it is a hanging plant that drapes, then you'll have a nice symmetrical draping all the way around the plant. And that covers things for what to do at this time of year. So thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.